welcome. And what we're going to just begin with is how do you actually access the forms option if you need to use it as part of your Office 365 subscription. So the thing to do is possibly the most straightforward thing is to go to Google, and if you type in forms.office, down here, see Microsoft Forms comes up. Okay. See forms.office.com. Okay. Now what happens here is that because I already have this open, this goes into this automatically. If for some reason you don't have it open, you need to put in your email address and your password just to log it. So that's just the first step. We just need to get to Forms. The other way to get into it is through your Office 365 portal. And if you look over here, you see you have your 9 little icons, and you'll find it there, and you click on Forms, and that will also bring you to it as well. Okay, so that's just the first step. Okay, and the thing we're going to look at here is that we're going to look at new form and we're going to look at new quiz, and that's where we're going to begin. All right, so we'll see you in the next segment. Take care. Bye. So here we are, and we're going to begin by creating a new form. So let's click on this new form. And if you kind of remember essentially that, if you like, the difference between a form and a quiz is that a form is a way to capture information and a quiz is a way to kind of give feedback, just to test people's knowledge. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to type in demo form, and then I'll put a description. This is sample form. Okay. Then I click down here and I go to add new. Okay. Now at this point it actually remembers the other questions that I've been looking at earlier, so I'm going to ignore those for the time being. And essentially you have 4 main types of questions. You have other ones here like ranking and so on, but we're just going to focus on these first 4 because they're the main ones we're going to use. And in our scenario, what we're going to look at is a case where we need to capture people's names, email addresses, the number of hours they've worked, the location they've worked, and also the date they've worked, and also if they want to give a rating to that place. So we're going to cover all 4 in this one. So I begin by clicking on text, and the question is type in your name. All right. Also at this point, it's a good idea to remember that, you know, try and get people maybe to put in their names in the order that you want to do it. So for example, if you want to put in surname first or something else first, or you might have them as a drop down. All right, just bear that in mind. You then have an option here, it says long answer. We'll leave that as is. And you want to say required. So they have to actually enter it into it. That's the first bit. Second one then is add new. All right, let me scroll down a little bit. See there it goes, go add new, and it's going to be text again. And I'm just going to ignore that and say type in your email address. Right. And again, I'm going to specify that's required. Okay. Now this is particularly true if you plan to send this form to people outside your organization. And what I mean by organization in this context is simply, for example, the domain name. So if you are at, you know, at mytraininghub.com, right, and if you want to send to somebody who has a Gmail account, you know, it's a good idea to put in their name and email address. If it's within the organization, it tends to be captured automatically. So I got their name, email address. The next thing I want to look at is, let's say I want to put in the location they're in. Click on choice, and I could type in what is your location. And I'm just going to pick, let's say, 4 locations. I'm going to type location A, location B. This you can kind of modify this and click add option, location C, put in 1 more, location D, and there's an option there for other if I want to. Okay. So it means that if somebody's not sure, they can have it. And I could have multiple answers. I don't need multiple answers for this one. They have to do it and so on. Another thing you can do at this point, if I click over here on this one, is that you can set this as a drop down. All right, so it means that it takes up less space on the screen. You have an option there for a subtitle, but we'll just stick with the drop down for the time being. Again, you don't see too much until this actually goes live, which is later on. All right, now again, this tends to disappear. What's your location? And I'm going to choose then date. Is the date of your working here. I'll leave the date there. I'm going to leave that as required, as if I need to. Okay. Now I'm going to do 1 more, add new, and then I'm going to go to rating. Right. So I'm going to leave it on stars, number of 5, because I'll change that to a number. change the number of ratings if I want to. And in this one, I don't really need it, so I'm going to leave it as required. Okay, so please rate your location. Okay. Now at the moment, let's say, so we've done our first option on the on our form, all right, and that's fine. Now let's go back here and have a look at what we look at if we have want to create a quiz. So just click back to this one, and this time I choose new quiz. All right, so I'm going to call this my demo quiz. Enter description, quiz to guess favorite color. Okay, add new. Okay, so let's say I'm going to choose choice. All right, now if you notice here, let's say I could choose what county, what is your favorite color. Okay, so I could choose, for example, blue. And see there, it actually comes up with colors for me. And let's say I'm going to choose add an option. Let's say purple, add an option, let's say yellow. Okay. Now if you notice here, one thing that makes this different is that you'll see here there's a little tick beside it. So I can identify, for example, that I'm going to say that I want to say blue is my is the correct answer. Right. And then I can also say here, and again, note this, that when you click away from it, all this tends to disappear. So if I click back onto it again, and I can say I can assign a number of points to that. So let's say I assign 5 points to that. So this is very useful if, for example, you want to, you know, let's say set up a quiz for it and so on. And you can say multiple answers, no, and I want to set it as required. This one. So let's say this is what this is what the quiz is going to look like at this point. Okay. So in the next segment, what we're going to look at is, okay, you've got your quiz done. All right, and let's say then you want to make some changes. What do you do then? Okay, so in this one, what we want to look at is what happens if you need to do some basic editing both within the form itself, or if you want to do something else with the form. And I also just want you to note here that as you create the form is saved as you go along. Okay, so here up there it says saved. Okay, so let's say I'm down here, I click on it, and I'm kind of saying, oh, do you know, I want to change this so it's a bit different. Okay, so let's say what I want to do is basically, let's say, for example, move something around. Okay, so I click up here in it. Okay, and then I have these options here. So I can copy the question, or I can delete the question, or let's say in this case, what I want to do at the moment, see there, it's question number 2. I want to move this up, and it's become question number 3, it's now become question number 2. And then I say, oh no, I need to move this down. So click on it and just move it down. Right. And then I can kind of back up again then. So I've got my name, my email address, my location, the date of working here, and please rate your location. And then so that would be the way you'd actually kind of edit your basic form if you need to. All right, and let's say click on here, sample form. Okay, say demo form to show how forms work. And I'm just going to go back here again to my forms, right? And if I'm here and let's say I want to delete a form completely, okay, so what I can do is I can go over here, for example, to this one I've done already, click on the little 3 dots and I can say delete. Okay, and I just click continue. Okay, and that's a quick way to, let's say, delete it if you need to. Okay. Now, at this point, I've done my basic editing of the forms. In the next section, what we want to look at is what you do if you want to save those forms. Not save those forms, but share those forms and so on. So let's look at that in the next section. Okay, I've got my form, got my basic editing. I'm Delira and Exira with it. So let's look now at how I would actually get that form out to my peeps, as they would say. Okay, so look up here, first of all, a couple of things. There's an option here that says preview. This will give you an idea what it looks like. Go back to this one. I can do the theme thing here. Now, I have to say, I don't think these are the most amazing things that I've ever seen in the history of the universe, but, you know, you can kind of customize the theme there if you want to, or upload an image, or change the color if you want to. If you want to put in like your hex number, or add a color and so on, which I'm not going to do. I leave that to your own good selves. Okay. Now then, this is the one that we're more interested in, which is the share. Okay, and as you know, it's always good to share. So click share. Okay, so when it comes up, there's a number of options you need to be aware of. Right? The first one, it says only people in my organization can respond. Okay, so what that means is that if I send out this link to somebody who's outside my organization or has an email address that is not the domain name, right, it means that they won't actually see it, they won't be able to access it. If I want to create a link that anybody can answer, no matter where they are, who they are, I would choose anyone with the link can respond. Now, one of the main differences between these two is that if you choose the option that says only people in my organization can respond, the person's name and email will automatically be captured if you choose this option. If you choose the second option, anyone with this link can respond, that will not be captured automatically. All right, so just to bear that in mind, you might need to build in something that says the name and the email address. Okay, this creates the link, all right, the copy that you have, and that's sorted. Also to bear in mind that even if you come back and make changes to the form, the same link will still work. So even if you come back and say, oh, I need to reorganize it or I need to add an extra field, the same link will still work. So there's the link. You can also use this as your QR code, or you can embed it, or you can put it into an email as here. If you want to give this form to somebody with a view to maybe kind of changing it or collaborating on it or editing on it, this is the link that you would send. Okay. Now, when you, let's say, create a link like this, if I go back here to my forms again, click on my forms here, you'll see there's an option here that says shared with me. So if I've sent a form to somebody, and you can see there, this is where somebody's actually sent me a form that they've used that link to, and I can kind of go in then and share it and edit it and so on. All right, so that's just the main differences there. Group forms would be more if you kind of have groups in, let's say, Outlook or whatever, where you can actually put groups together. Okay, so but let me just go back here to my sharing option again. Okay. So once you've shared it, you send this out and then people will respond to it. So what we're going to look at in the next section is, okay, now that you've sent it out and that people have sent in responses, how do we actually analyze and look at the responses? So that's what we're going to look at in the next section. Okay, so what we're going to look at here is you've created the link here. So I click on it and then I click copy. And you send it to somebody in an email. And if I, for example, just copy and paste it up here, Control V, right, this is what the person sees when they get it. Okay, so see there, any with the red ones means that it's required. So I'm going to do Anne Walsh, my email address, .com. From here, see there, remember I specified this as a drop down. So location A. And I can put in the date here. So let's say I can just pick a date here, 15th. Okay. And don't worry about that date thing for a second. And I'm going to rate my location as 4 stars. And then I click on submit. Right. And that's what your user is going to see. Right. So just to bear that in mind. So what we're going to look at next is I am going to put in some more submissions. And then we're going to see, okay, what does that look like? You know, we actually have captured a number of submissions. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye. Okay, here we are back again. I've submitted about 10 responses at this point. Now here it says 10, but just to make you aware that sometimes it doesn't always update immediately. So you just need to be kind of aware of that, you know, you can kind of see that you have a number of ones in it, but it has an update automatically. So how do we actually look at the results? Okay, so first of all, let's say there's my questions back here. Here are my responses. And if I scroll down here to this one, see there's, first of all, this kind of gives me like a dashboard kind of thing, which is latest responses, email addresses, you know, it's picked out these ones with the choices, the date of working here, rate your location, and so on. So this kind of gives me a summary view of what I've seen so far. Okay. Now, so the second thing that I can do is view results. So if I go to view results, I can then use this to, let's say, just look at actual individual results. All right, you can see there. And if I want to go specifically to a particular respondent, I can. But this just allows me to kind of just to go back to it. Okay, so that allows me to look at them individually. If then I have my results and I want to download them into Excel, I simply click on Open in Excel. All right, I want to go down here to this one and just go open. A second, it opens up. This opens up an Excel file, and let me just kind of make sure it's here as well. Oops, this one. I'm just going to click on Enable Editing. All right, so you can see there, I've kind of added in my different locations. And the beauty of this is that this is now ready, if you need to, it's ready to be filtered or put into a pivot table, or if you need to do something else with it. Okay, so that's essentially how you kind of like capture your results. The only kind of drawback you might have on this is that if you get more results to it, you'll have to download the file again. It doesn't update automatically, not the way forms are at the moment. So you just need to kind of bear that in mind. Right. So that's essentially how you would view your results. I hope you find this useful, and hopefully talk to you again. Take care. Bye.